And welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Itayo. This is the Good Morning Education Show. Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're sorry and apologizing for some level of connectivity issue. We would like to plead with you as we connect together this morning. Please do where you're streaming from. Let us know where you're connecting from. Please share your comments and also your questions as we connect together today. I believe it's going to be a great day. We're going to have a great topic to be deliberating on, and it's a topic that really affects everyone within the teaching profession. And so, without wasting much time, let me just welcome Ugochi. She's already in the studios. Ugochi, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, sir. I'm very well, thank you. How are you yourself?
I'm very well. Sorry about the connection issues. We've been trying to sort out the destination to on StreamYard, but we believe we'll still do what we can today. So, how's everything?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Yesterday we had a great conversation. At some point, you disappeared.
Hmm. I had to attend another meeting. I had to attend another
Oh,
meeting. So yeah, I had to drop off. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. You are muted.
Yes, I just want to test run something and let's see. Let's see. We'll have an interlude just to be able to sort out a bit of connection, but we want to welcome those connecting from all the part of the world. We are streaming from Lagos, Nigeria, to West Africa and to the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we will be right back. Okay, we're right back. Today we will really have to say good morning to internet because of the connectivity issues, but we will still have a great time all the same. So if you're joining us for the first time, please do let us know so that we'll recognize you and appreciate you for joining. Um, but apart from that, one of the interesting things that we might need to talk about is to just make people see the trajectory of what we're talking about. Since we started on Monday, Monday was October 5th, which is also recognized as the World Teachers Day. And we had a lot of people, connect with us and, giving goodwill messages and talking about what makes teachers great, right? So we're going to be talking much about a follow-up on that conversation. So yesterday, we also went further talking about the future of teaching, and now today we're talking about teacher growth, teacher growth. So I would like us to start from that, and like I would like to say, um, um, let's even talk about it. Teacher growth. What is it all about? Gochi?
Okay, so I want to believe that teacher growth is basically about the things that a teacher deliberately does to move from the current level that they are to the next. Because the truth is, anyone who has a responsibility to groom the future, right? It's important that you do not stay stuck at your own current knowledge base. You need to always be willing to know more. You need to be willing to increase your current level of knowledge and understanding so that you are able to shepherd the ones that you are grooming. And so if you do not make a deliberate effort, if you are not intentional about that growth, what happens is that you are stuck there and then you are not even able to move the children you're supposed to take forward to the next level. And you do not want to be the one where the children in your class know things more than even you. And sometimes you keep hearing stories of, oh, there are certain professors that the same thing they have taught for how many years is the same thing that they continue to teach. There is no change. You really do not want to be that person who such is being said about. So basically, teacher growth. And again, growth is not just about knowledge level, right? Growth is 360. It affects all areas, because I believe in people being balanced, people being amazing in the different areas of their life. So aside the IQ, your EQ is also very important. And then there is this new one now. They say you need to also have some political IQ. Yes, it is also so important. So teacher growth is 360. So you must be seen to want to grow across all levels.
So your PQ has to be there, political quotient, or they call it adaptability quotient.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that, and I would like you to please take it step by step all over again, from the angle of saying that teacher growth is not just knowledge level, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. That focus often from the place of knowledge.
Okay, in terms of knowledge, so there are different learning methodologies. There are different advances in that field that you teach in. There are just a number of things that change as time goes by. And like I would always keep referring to COVID, and I would say that if nothing else, COVID has shown everyone that the same way you always did something does not mean that is the only way, that there is a way. There are other methods of getting things done and still achieving results. I remember I had to answer an application question very recently, and one of the things I spoke about was my social enterprise had thrived on physical sessions and delivering physical products. But earlier in the year, we had started moving everything up into using technology. And during this period of the pandemic, we had to do things a bit faster, because now that we saw that it was really important, and we did things faster, and we got to have virtual training sessions, both paid and unpaid. Now that would have been an angle that a lot of people wouldn't have welcomed readily, a few months ago, or let's just say even the last quarter of 2019. But that happened this period. And so it's the same thing here. Your knowledge level has to move with the times. And that's why it's really important that you keep looking ahead. Where is the world going to? So that you are not surprised, basically. You're not surprised.
I like that. I can find out that you're giggling. I don't want to probe further. Anyways, so we're talking about teachers' growth. I would like to welcome everyone that's joined us today, and at this moment and at this point. This is the Good Morning Education Show, and we are live and direct. Sometimes we tend to realize that there's a lot ahead of us, and a lot of times our attention is drawn just to getting by. But you see, growth actually has layers. Growth actually has dimensions, and most times, a lot of teachers might not really appreciate or identify the levels of growth and the dimensions of growth. Now, it's very important to make people realize that on the growth levels, it's just trying to show you the rung of the ladder where you are at that point. And it's also something that you keep pushing and you keep aspiring to. And I'd like us to dwell on that a little bit, because teachers must realize that there are levels of growth. Just like we used to say, levels has changed, levels don't change, in our local way. Levels do change. So let's have that at the back of our minds, that levels does change. So growth in itself is expressed and felt and realized in levels. But then there's another side of it that we need to pay attention to. And that's the aspect of growth, not just in levels, but growth in dimensions. So even at the place where we talk about levels, we are also having dimensions in each level. I don't know whether you're following what I'm trying to say, Safety Chief. Ugochi, are you there? Safety Chick, are you there? Hello? Ugochi, are you there? Hello? Seems we might have lost Safety Chick. Anyway, well, what I would say is there are growth levels. So let me just help us while she tries to connect back. Number one, when we talk about growth levels, there are predominantly 3 growth levels, right? And in that growth level is a place where an expert and a professional must realize that the first level of growth, number one, is where you are dependent, more or less. Dependent state. That's a place where a lot of times you find out that there are teachers, there are educators, there are professionals out there, there are learning experts, there are learning facilitators out there. And in some cases, you need to spread it a bit. There are consultants, there are experts out there, expert in their right, exposed in their right. But there are a lot of times at a dependent level. And that dependent level is a level of growth. Let's take it at that. When you need something, when you're expecting to be told something, when you're waiting to be shown something. Oh, this is the path we're going, and then you now deploy your expertise based on that path. Oh, this is the brief that we need, and then you deploy your expertise on that path. At that dependent state level, you are not so much as expected to be someone who can predictively profile what needs to be done. You are not necessarily on the top of the food chain of your industry, and you are a recipient, and you are most times in a level where you are almost like always take, adopt. This is the best practice. Now we're talking about blended learning, flip learning. We're talking about digitization. We're talking about migration online. We're talking about LMS. We're talking about a lot of things. And then everybody just saying, and once they take it, then they publicize it. They take it, then they preach it. They take it, and then they make it public. Now, at that level, their expertise is not beautified except at the point of dependence. They are being told, they are being shown. And what happens is this: when you match a teacher, you match an education professional and an expert with another person on a different growth level, you will always be under the bottom of the food chain. And that's really what causes the disparity across the spectrum of the profession globally. That sometimes, even in our local context, even within Nigeria and Africa, West Africa, we sometimes still see a little bit of dichotomy where you still have some people who are waiting for some people. I don't know whether Safety Chick, are you back? Safety Chick, are you there? Are you sipping tea? Are you there?
Can you hear me now, sir?
I can hear
Can
you
you
now.
hear me now?
Taking biscuits and tea.
I've been hearing you, but you're the one that can't hear me. You
The
couldn't
world
hear me. I
cannot hear
kept
you as well. It's not
responding.
just me. The world couldn't hear you, so don't make it just me.
Okay, my apologies to everyone. I've been here. I'm like, what's going on? I'm here, but nobody
What's
can
going
hear
on
me.
here? All right. Okay, so let me just continue. I was just trying to find out if you're paying attention to what I was saying. So I said that there are 3 levels of growth, and the first level of growth is the dependence level. And we must realize that. And our goal is to try as much as possible to accelerate quickly beyond the dependence level. And let's welcome Titi into the show. Titi, good morning. Titi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for
Welcome.
joining. Apologies for the connectivity issue.
It happens.
We've been having like some platform connectivity issues, and it's just been throwing us out ability to get the link to channel. All right, but thank God you're here. Yes, we're talking about teacher growth today, and we had some level of introduction by Safety Chick, and it was a very good introduction. She was trying to make people understand that growth is not just considered in the place of knowledge, but growth actually goes further than that. And I was not trying to help people to understand that, well, also there are levels of growth and there are dimensions of growth. And in each level of growth, right, these dimensions of growth can actually be seen as a reality. And so a lot of people need to realize what are the levels of growth themselves. So I started by saying that there are 3 levels, and the first level is the dependence level, where most times people are not able to do until they are told, until they are shown. Doesn't mean that they are not expert, doesn't mean that they don't have skill, but they are most times not forward driven, not future driven, not future ready, and most times not proactive. They are always responsive, and that's why their pattern is an adoptive pattern, where they adopt things to do in their profession, where they wait for things to happen before they champion and make public that thing that they've already seen to happen. And the contradiction, or the friction between that, is that you are in a sector where you are now matched globally with people who probably are not on the same level of growth that you are on, and you're expected to work in the same space. So what normally happens is the one on the dependence level, most times is on the bottom, while the one who is on the other levels of growth tends to be able to do what, have some level of advantage and leverage over the other. So that's what we're trying to say when you connected with us. So do you want to say something on teachers growth? Hello, Titi.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were talking to me or safety.
Yeah, I was talking to you.
When I think of teacher growth, okay, we're talking about the whole sector. I don't know. There seems to be an echo. Is it just? Oh, my mic was on. Okay. So this, I think when it comes to growth, there needs to be, looking at it across the whole sector, there needs to be guidance, policy that's driving the growth, so that we are doing things more on a structured and for the whole sector. And one of those things is defining what are the skill requirements of teachers, what should be the minimum amount of personal development they should have per year. Because remember, the thing about learning and growth is that it's not something static. It's something that, has to be continuous. And I think that's one thing that is clear now more than ever, that, there needs to be that continuous learning. So it means that there has to be policies that say, you know what, on a year at this level or this years of experience, this is the amount of personal development hours that you need. And it has to be something that is monitored, is measured, and is required. So that forces, school owners, that forces, the various school administrators to send their teachers for, learning interventions, whatever it is, because it's important we are refreshed. It's important that our methods. It's important that our methods are, how will I say it? Our methods are validated, refreshed regularly. And I think that's really what's important. And I think that's what's missing. When I speak to some teachers and they say they don't go for training, they don't go for webinars and conferences, I may be worried, because we all need this. Sometimes just going for one webinar or seminar or conference, just, how will I say, kicks off something in you, just, helps you clarify some things. And it's important we do these things on a regular basis. All this, experience sharing that we do when we meet, even coming on the Good Morning Show for me every morning, even though I'm a analyst here, I learn. So it's important that we put this process of learning and growth as a system. That's really the way we can see progress. So for school owners, you must have something that you say, you know what, we have these programs in the year, everybody must attend, and in the end, these are the cumulative hours you must have before the end of your appraisals. These are cumulative hours you must have for training and development. It could be online. Give them the various programs that are available, but this thing must be done on a systematic basis if we are to grow in the sector.
Fantastic. And I always like your perspective, Titi, and it's also quite humbling to know that someone of your caliber would say that yes, you're still learning, you're still growing, you use every opportunity, and I really agree with you.
Rotimi, which one is caliber? Which one is all of my caliber? Oh my goodness.
It's someone of your caliber now.
One again. But safety, to think about it on this program, are you not learning as well? So
Yes, so
I did say you're
every
learning.
morning.
so honestly, just listening every morning, I learn something. When I listen to Rhoda, when I listen to Eben, my eyes are open to a number of things. When I listen to KK, a lot of things that I hadn't also considered. I then begin to write, wow, I need to have taken this into account. So imagine if someone does that regularly, listening to the Good Morning Show, listening to webinars on a weekly basis, the person would not be the same. You can't be the same kind of teacher. Listening to people tell you about what works in their own classroom, and then you say to myself, let me try this out in my own classroom. You can't be the same teacher. You can't be on the same place year in, year out.
I agree. And it's just the way the mind expands. Such a fantastic reality. And which is why I was explaining earlier, and maybe I'll use this opportunity to quickly um, um, finish up with the levels of growth. Probably then we'll now talk about the dimensions of growth. But the first level is the dependence level. And most people are on that level of growth. However, the second level of growth is at the point where people now begin to learn more, hear more, do more, see more, prove that they are able to do a lot, and then they get to the place where they're independent. First, they were on the dependence level, now they're on the independent level. And we see sometimes this is where a lot of times some people begin to show that their talent needs some level of refinement, refining the way they act, refining the way they talk, refining the way they think, refining the way they process things, right? And this is where sometimes you see there's urgent need for mentoring, coaching. There's urgent need for pruning. There are lots of things that happen at this level of growth where people now are at the independent level. And you see, most unfortunately, from my experience, and I'd like to find out from you, Titi, a lot of people do not move beyond this level. A lot of people do not move beyond, and because of that, we begin to see stressing on name and appellations to name, as opposed to product, as opposed to proliferation, as opposed to mastery, as opposed to growth and expansion, as opposed to coordination and collaboration. There's so much that can be done to achieve leadership and dominance, but because we are so independent, we begin to deny ourselves of real growth, right? Just because we're happy to say, well, we are a bit away from those who are dependent. We are the ones they are even looking up to. We are the ones that shape the theme. We are the ones that create the topics. We are the ones that we see with the optics. Now, this is where I see that in the teacher level, or in the teacher spectrum, we need to wake up, because, like you said, growth, everybody needs such a growth is common to all. And we cannot say, oh, we've arrived, so to speak, because that would be a dangerous thing. Because in science, they say that anything that is not growing, obviously, is dying. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. I think that's the most dangerous that anybody can get to, where you feel you've fully arrived, especially from a learning perspective. And what's most interesting is that the way the world is, things are changing rapidly. It's amazing. Things are changing rapidly. in some areas more than others. So it means that you yourself need to keep abreast. If not, you become obsolete. So I agree that never get to that place where you feel that you've arrived. It's really dangerous. A lot is happening. You need to keep on trying to find out the trends. If not, you wake up one day and you become a dinosaur, and you just realize that people have moved on. And that's a lot of what's happening. People are moving on. And I hope that, as we're saying that the COVID was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call to a lot of us to let us know that, you know what, there's still a lot to do. That we haven't gotten there yet. All over the world, just following all the articles, the blog posts, the comments, it showed us that we all haven't gotten there. So it's a dangerous place to be, where you think that you've arrived. You must keep saying to yourself, what is out there? What do I need to learn? Is there anything new? Is there anything better? Is there anything that can improve our productivity as a school? That can improve our productivity as teachers? Is there any new tool to learn? Because new tools are coming out, new apps are coming out, new resources are coming out. New people are developing things just to make life easier. So you have to keep on. And honestly, if you have that mentality, the sky is the limit. I spend hours during the weekend just surfing, looking for ideas, looking for resources, going through what other people have done. And usually that's where my inspiration comes from. That's really where ideas come from. It's usually after having just fed myself, so to speak, that I get ideas, I get inspirations for things. So I think I will stop there.
So much. And I like the way you're using self-assessment, self-referencing. And self-referencing is not just to show that, oh, I'm better, I'm good, but just to make people see that this is relatable. This is something they can relate with. And it's very important. We'd like to welcome Ifyok Ikagu, all the way from UAE. Ifyok, our great Ifyok, welcome to the show. And of course, KK is in the building, the only one-woman republic in the entire education sphere, not just in Nigeria.
Hi, everyone.
Africa. Thank you for joining.
Mr. My personal hype man.
As in,
That's my personal hype man.
I am pushing for you to be. You need to register at the UN. You are a republic on your own. They should not have General Assembly on UN without your flag.
Hi, Titi. Good morning, Titi. Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, everyone who has us here on the show.
Apologies for some technical glitches that did not allow us to do our regular notification on time.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Okay, so we're talking about
teacher.
Yeah, so would you like to wade in on that very quickly?
So the very first thing is that growth is personal. Growth is very personal. And we all need to get to that space in our heads where we understand that we cannot tie our growth to somebody else, not the organization, not the HR manager, not even our team leader, nobody else except us. So we may not have the same opportunities for growth that everybody has, but within the opportunities that we do have, what have we done with it? How have we even gone out to seek opportunities? What are the things that we have inherently that we could develop, that we could keep using? So it's very important that we see things from that perspective, first of all. So, I mean, for me, for example, when I started my school, so I had worked in the education space, right? I mean, I worked with Discovery House for over 4 years. And so, but so let me even work. So I don't talk about myself in my school. Let me talk about myself when I was in paid employment. So let me start with education because that's what's relevant to this industry. I came in as the business manager. So I was admin, right? Fully purely admin because I'm a process person. So I didn't even know anything about education apart from the fact that I went to school. That was it. But increasingly, I understood that there was no way I could run an effective administrative system if I didn't know about the core of the business. And the core of the business was teaching and learning. So what would happen is that you find that I am in the classrooms, in the toddler rooms, I'm speaking with the teachers, I'm observing what's going on, I'm sitting beside the students. That's what I had to do to develop myself. There was no structure. If you've been in the school system, you understand that when the term is in session, it's almost like it's brrr, it's go, 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 go. There's so much going on at the same time. So I came in after the term had started. I started with Discovery House, I think in February, yes. In February was when I started with them. So that was smack dab in the middle of the term. So there was no way they could say, oh, come and go for training, because there was to be resolved in the system, which is why they brought. I mean, I actually couldn't even, I was, what happened with me, and this is a personal experience, right? So I had to be in the classrooms, learning what was going on in the classrooms. Now, I went to the classrooms armed with, I don't know what happens here, but I know what shouldn't happen. So I went in there clean, blank, knowing that, okay, you know what, some certain things shouldn't happen in the classroom because I've been in the classroom before. And I was able to develop myself just by listening to the teachers, watching them, learning what they were doing, pitching in. And so that was my self-development. And when I started Busy Minds, because I had invested that much of my time in the classrooms, honestly, I mean, it wasn't easy, but I was more, in terms of capacity, I was broader to be able to get into that space where I needed to do what I needed to do for my teachers, till I then went in and did core curriculum training. So it's important that we take on our own development and say, I need to develop. If there's a teacher somewhere who is doing well, go and sit with that teacher and learn of that teacher. That's why the informal ways of development sometimes can be a bit more effective than the formal ways. Informally, you are sitting down and saying, okay, how did you do this thing? Show me. And then the person will be like, oh, you go and try it, let me see. So that kind of internship also helps. But if you don't have that situation, then again, it's personal. So find it, watch a video if you have to, and then practicalize it. Yeah, so those are my views on growth in general, not just teacher growth. It also comes from a place of reflection. I think I always say this actually, that for you to grow, you must be able to reflect. If you can't reflect on where you are and where you need to go, then there's no growth that can likely happen. Thanks, Rotimi.
Rotimi, I'll mute.
Part of my growth plan is to ensure that Titi never says you're mute. And that it feels like, Titi, I don't know whether you know how it feels in my body. It's as if someone gave me a spank or something, like, hey, you're mute.
But I like what Keke has said, and I think this is a challenge to every educator that's out there listening. What is your own personal development plan for yourself? Oh yeah, are you waiting for your school to do that? What is your own? As in, before the year, COVID was a time people were like, they were confused. A lot of people were learning, some people were not. Okay, so that time has passed. You didn't use that time well. Between now and the end of the year, what is your, development plan? What 2 things, top 2, make it 3 or start with 2. What 2 things have you said to yourself before December 31st? I am going to learn, I'm going to acquire. What are your action steps? What do you need to do this? Because you have to have goals. So it starts with the goals. And personal development should be top priority for everyone, whether you're an educator or not.
And that personal development market has really grown. And that's why you're seeing so much of influx in the coaching industry, in the personal help industry and all. And which is why I would really want to use this opportunity to now share the third part of the levels of growth, because we're talking about levels of growth earlier. There's the dependence level. And I said that a lot of people are on that dependence level of growth. There is also the independence level, right? And I was saying that just before KK joined us, that I've come to see some dangerous trend where those who scale, those who manage to transition into the independent level of growth, I tend to see that most often times, you see that they stop there and plateau. They don't reach forward to anything because their joy is that they know more than others. Their joy is that they are popular than some others. Their joy is that they are the reference point in the season. Their joy is that they are one of the multiplied faces online on social media. Their joy is that their digital footprint, right, is their mark of quality. And that brings us to the third level of growth. The third level of growth is simply saying, look, while we know that there are people who are independent, they are not dependent. They wait to be shown for them to do. They wait to be told for them to do. We also have a level of growth that is where people have now become independent of being shown. They are trying as much as possible to come up with things. They are coming up with first. Now, the third one is where I want to stress, and I would like to hear your thoughts on that. The third level of growth is the interdependent level. And this is really what grows the system of education. This is really what makes the teaching industry to thrive, where we begin to predictively profile things. We begin to analyze things. We begin to a lot of people talk about collaboration, but they don't understand that collaboration actually needs certain frameworks to be able to blossom. And I'm excited that we are saying this on the show because we have perfect example where we look at the Safety Chick and Naija Kids coming together. Now, they're not just coming together because that's the first checklist. They are coming together, they are doing together, they are working together, and you can easily project and see where the value chains begin to meet. And this is just a sample for other people to realize that we must begin to move away from just being independent and not just being dependent to a point where we are now interdependent. Interdependency is one growth level that we must all of us transition to. That's like the pinnacle of level of growth, right? So if levels go change, it should change to the interdependent level where we subject ourselves, disable ourselves from having unilateral expression of expertise. My goal is not just to know. My goal is, while I know, I ensure that I am showing with the ones who know, as opposed to just me, because there's still going to be a blind spot. Really, that's it. And I want to hear from TT, from KK, from Safety Chick, and of course, Dr. Eben from Las Vegas, Nevada is in the building. We want to hear from him as well. How do we promote that transitioning across the level of growth? So maybe KK starts, then I go to Eben, Safety Chick, and then back to TT.
So, I mean, I'm absolutely, I love how you've just laid it out. Rotimi, I actually need, I need to know exactly, actually, I need that whole thing you just said before going into it, because I mean, it was so well articulated. So I actually need all those levels. Please, I need them. Send them to me. Yeah, or type them in so I can pick them up. They're just lovely. However, yeah, you're right. There's a place where, check this one. Let me see.
An Eba plate would do.
So yeah, there's a space where it starts with self, right? So it starts from that place where I know where I am. Like you said, I'm the reference point. But it reaches this to quickly progress to where I am able to empower other people. So I call it, so in education, we call it generative knowledge, where the knowledge that I have, I must be able to generate more knowledge from it and enable people with that knowledge that we have. This one? Yeah. So absolutely, we should enable the people within our systems and enable ourselves as well to pull everybody up to the same level where we are and keep going. Now, an institution cannot grow beyond the level of those that work in the institution. So if you're the only kingpin in the institution, it means that that institution cannot go beyond who you are, and you're not a connoisseur of experiences. You're not a connoisseur of knowledge. So there are things that you know and you know well, but there are other things that you may not know at all because you have never been in that experience, in that situation to grow those sort of experiences. So everybody within your organization needs to, feed. You need to have connections with the growth status in that organization. So how do you move people from one level to another? For me, it starts with being so Mr. Rotimi has put it, dependence, independence, and interdependent level. Yeah, so you need to find ways to engage people. That's the first thing. And again, it starts from a point of view of data. Where are we going? What do we have? How do we ensure that everybody that we have can go to where we need to be? So again, you must say, like I always come from a place of data, from a needs gap assessment, and say, okay, let's look at our needs as an organization. So if, for example, I do a lot of integration, but if I have people who don't understand integration, so I must say, what about integration is tough for you? Okay. Understands it in the who can actually get what it is that they need from that person in a very informal manner but effective manner. That moves them from the level of dependence to the level of independence, right? And for me, that's how I do things in my organization. Who is that person who understands a bit more than maybe everybody else? So we have general trainings, and then we have more systemic, more individualized trainings for different people across different areas. So that's except I missed your question, but yeah. So in my head, this is how I understood your question, and so that's the answer that I've given.
Fantastic. Let's get to hear from Dr. Eben from Las Vegas, Nevada. Eben, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. I've been sitting here to actually learn from this from the Good Morning Education show this morning. I've actually been online, and it has been wholesome.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. So you just want to learn.
Repeat. Yeah, yes. It is not. Learning is something that you can't do without. Can you please recap the question again? I need the question so that I can. My network actually stopped during that point.
Okay, so the question is really how do we get to encourage people to move across the level of growth? There are people who are at the dependent level. Now, the levels of growth does not suspend or deny the fact that you have expertise. So you know something, you are good at something, you are skilled at something, but the level of growth that you are at might be a dependent level where until you see before you try to do and display, until you are told before, and which is what's happening. A lot of us, because we are at the dependent level of growth, we wait for the Western world to show us, and then we now do something with what they've shown us. Now, that is a dependent level. At the independent level, we are a bit of masters of some sort, demonstrating mastery, and then we also still wait. But then we are still better in a way, not better, but permit me to use that word. We act and feel that, we are better than some because we are not dependent to a large extent. We are now becoming independent of other people. So we are like standing alone. We are using the word, I am so expert. I am so person. I am so coach. Now, that's at the independent level. But there's a level that most people do not reach forward to. And that's where the question is. That's the level of interdependence, meaning that independent people begin to do what? Interdepend on others. Not like the stomach is looking for food, but the stomach knows that without food passing through the mouth, there won't be food in the tummy, right? The hand has to help to carry the food to the mouth. That's interdependence. I need you, you need me. And not because I know that we just need each other, but we work completely in consonance with each other, right? So that we can grow. I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say. So, for example, the Good Morning Education show, right, is projecting things because the sector and the industry needs some measure of projection as opposed to just knowledge. And Ugochi said it when we started the show. Growth is not only about knowledge. So what do you think about how do we get people to continuously in a fast way move from dependence to independence to interdependence?
to interdependence. Thank you very much, Mr. Rotimi Itayo, PhD, as I used to call you. I can't do without that statement. I will actually start with this quote. I've actually forgot the quote, but I will just say it in the way I actually understand. That if you go alone, you will go maybe go it will be better than if you go together. You will go fast. Then if you go together, you will go what? Guy, you will go to what?
If you go alone, you go fast, but if you go with others, you will go farther. That's like
you
it's
will
not
go,
just
you will
me,
go
but
farther.
then
Yeah, I know that is the quote I actually want to use to actually start this conversation, because what you're actually talking about is what some of us have actually experienced. You will definitely start with research. Like somebody like me, I started a lot of the things I actually do right now with research. I actually depend on others. Then that was the first stage you actually mentioned, looking at others and then replicating what others are doing in your domain. So at the end of the day, it's turned to developing expertise. You know, sometimes when you practice what others are doing, originality will be coming out of what you are doing. So at the end of the day, it won't turn to just something that you copy from others. It will turn to something that is now original, especially when you are dedicated. So at the last stage, which is now the interdependence, which simply means that it is not all about you. You have to collaborate. It is not all about you. You have to make sure that you carry people along. Imagine just somebody like me without working with Mr. Rotimi, without working with government, without working with Nigeria Kids, without working with so many people, even on my WhatsApp group, without inviting a lot of people to come and lecture and more. If it is all about me, it won't go far. But if it is making sure that I carry people along and making sure that there is no selfish interest around it, definitely going far will be the end result of my life. And then talking about what you are saying, it is something that is it is an African thing. It is an African thing that's actually it is an African thing, because I remember a coach of mine who actually said something some month ago, and he said that that when African business die, when African man die, his business actually dies alone. It is a very shameful statement that when a CEO die, his business actually dies alone. That simply means that the business, that organization only depend on the owner alone. That organization does not actually work depend on the people that works under him. That organization does not actually depend on people that will make that organization grow. So this life is not all about you alone. It is not all about you alone. You know it a lot. You are the CEO, but you have to carry people along. You have to work with different sectors, and with that, you will definitely go far. I am still learning that statement every day, that it is not all about you. It is not all about you. Before you can grow to the top in planet Earth, so maybe in Jupiter it can work, but in planet Earth you have to work with people, and you have to make sure that collaboration is coming without selfishness. I think let me stop there. Then by the time you bring in more complicated questions, I'll have
I like that. Thank you so much. And I always also try to pass the complicated questions to Titi, so that Titi can Titi, you know how we roll now. You know you are my tardy for life.
Where is Titi?
Titi
has disappeared.
She wanted me to answer the technical question.
Okay, Rotimi, go ahead. Luckily, it's almost time up.
Luckily,
okay.
Luckily, it's almost time up.
Titi, how do we get to encourage people? Number one, not to see it as a sign of weakness or incompleteness when you begin to crave and try to get to a point of interdependence. Because really, since I've known and I've had dealings with you, you're always for more. You know, how can someone, and you're thinking for others, and it makes it a lot less suspicious in some situations for someone to just, say, why not, let's give it a try, let's give it a chance, right? Because growth is all about chance, right? what can be, what should be, what must be. So can you just try to encourage other people out there? What do you think we can do? Because Eben said it's kind of African, where a lot of times we do not easily shift. Once we stand on a position, is either people come to us, and even when people even come to us, we mess it all up because of our suspicion, fears, concerns, and we don't think about the chance and the possibilities.
Rotimi, you're so correct. And what it really needs is we need to hear more stories of successful collaboration, because people have heard, this person, I did something with this person, the person stabbed me in the back. The person, they hear all the bad stories, and those stories are real, because not everyone has a good heart, not everyone has good intentions. Everybody grew up with the concept of competition, not collaboration, and that's how we grew up. That's the environment in which people grew, and people saw that people that can pull people down succeed more than people that are trying, all night.
Exactly. Yeah.
We need to start bringing the second, a different narrative. When we look at all successful businesses right now, when you look at them, you might hear of Apple and only hear of Steve Jobs, but the truth is that he never did anything alone. If you read the stories of successful, we hear of Facebook and hear of Mark Zuckerberg, but it's not one person. It's actually a team of people. When you hear of Amazon, we know one person, Jeff Bezos, but it's a team of people. There are actually 2, 3, 4 people that come together. Rarely can something big and successful be done by one person. It typically needs a team of people. And so we need to hear more of those stories of the collaborations, of things that people did that were successful, and it wasn't a bit of backstabbing. And then even in that, we also need to let people know the learnings of what are the things that we did, because even when you come to collaborations, there's some things that make it successful from the onset. Collaboration, everybody comes in with different minds, but when you try and document, when you try and first of all clarify what it is that we're trying to achieve, the normal thing that comes up also is always that person feels, one person is getting more popular from this our collaboration. People will always come with that. So that's why even when you're going in with collaborations, you need to try and be very clear and try to ensure that the people that you're going in with have the same values. People look at all the successful bands that were groups. Most of them never last beyond a particular level, because in the end there will always be someone that seems to be projected more, liked more. And it's how the team overcomes that situation that then tells us whether they would last long. Look at all the, because one person will always, but some people decide, okay, once they get to that, the other people are holding me back, let me go it alone. Meanwhile, some other people decide that no, all of us or none of us. So collaboration will always have its, challenges, but I feel it's just the way to go. It's the way to leapfrog. I was taught, and I'll share this, about Safety Chicks and I collaboration. She told me that she had wanted to develop a game over 3 years ago. And when she saw the initial cost, she was like, wow, I can't do this. She tried to raise funds, to help with the cost, but she couldn't. And then the next thing, we met on the Good Morning Show. And then she suddenly saw how through this collaboration, she can quickly leapfrog. And then the rest is history. So overnight, that's what she told me. She said, it seemed as if overnight, suddenly that 3-year dream came to fruition. So it's important that we don't realize, look at collaboration as something that pulls us down. Imagine if schools are collaborating more, whereby I have a pool, you don't have a pool, but we are in proximity with each other, and we can look at it and say, you know what, we can share this facility. In the end, we see what are the win-wins for us, or see how primary schools and secondary schools collaborate, whereby I'm saying that your students are my potential students. So how can we collaborate? The more you see with collaborations, your network becomes fast. You can do things quicker. And then in the end, it's a win-win for everyone. So I think we need to tell more of those stories. And maybe that's one of the topics we should look at. Tell stories of collaboration. Maybe that's one of the things that we find one week of just letting different people come and tell us their stories of their collaborations and how the collaborations have been successful. And maybe that would begin to change people's mind. Collaborations between schools, collaboration between educators. I think we need to do a bit of that. We need to change the narrative. We need to change the mindset, and so people can see, and they can also share their learnings. So look at Shenwa Wodiji in her newbies. It's a collaboration. Do you get? It's a collaboration. Some things are hard to do on your own because we all will get tired. It is at one point in time or the other. So honestly, Rotimi, I've given us one of our topics that we should be looking at.
Right.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
Fantastic. And
Yes,
just like
I
you
hear you.
said, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to start. We probably might even start this week, but let's just have that. We're going to do that. We're going to start pushing about the image aspect of growth. We really talked about the stories, the outcome, the bitter, the sweet. And because there are also lessons in the bitter, because a lot of people just say as if life is not linear in nature. There's always going to be some level of curves and all that. So people must realize that even when you collaborate and you had some bitter experience, what are the lessons behind it? Because sometimes we need to realize that it's bitter and sweet that makes reality. So when you learn and you are better out of that lesson, you are able to do something about correcting it or moving on and being better as a person or as a people. Instead of just that tagline or that kind of stigma that a lot of people have. And that's really what I'm excited about, that contribution that you made, and we're going to do that by God's grace. And so as we're bringing the show to a close, I remember that I said that there are 3 levels of growth and there are dimensions of growth. And I'm just going to explain the dimensions, and probably we'll have another time where we'll talk about that. And every level of growth, you can witness this dimension. Dimensions is almost like the aspect, the component of that growth itself in that level, right? And you need to recognize the moment you understand that there is dimension of growth, right? You begin to look at the level you are at and make sure you explore all the dimension, right? There's a level and there's a dimension where we talk about dimension of significance. So even at the point of dependence, there are people who do not speak out and ask questions. There are people who ask questions. There are people who do not ask questions that benefit them. There are people who ask questions that benefit others, So you need to begin to ask yourself, what dimensions of growth am I on? And then after that, you are able to transit to the new level and also make sure you look at the dimensions you are on at that level. Do not go to another level of growth without exhausting the dimensions of growth at the present level that you are at. It's been a great time today. So I'm going to give Eben opportunity to say his last words or parting shots. And then maybe Titi again, and then we'll just call it a day. It's been a great opportunity sharing with us today.
Yeah, Mr. Rotimi, thank you very much for this wonderful topic. When you listed all the stages, I was like, wow, you have actually listed everything that so many people are actually passing through now, even me myself. So and there is something you actually said now, that if you have not passed through one stage, you need to pass through that stage before you move to the next stage. You must develop expertise. It is very good to develop expertise before you collaborate. If you don't develop expertise, it can actually turn to something else when you start your collaboration. Because we've seen a lot of collaboration just because I know it more than you, I have connection more than you, I have track record of competency more than you, this and that. At the end of the day, it's turned to, gee.
What
Eben,
happened?
are you done? No, that's Eben's signature. He normally says ching. Just like when you hear Las Vegas, Nevada, you not end it with ching. Eben, are you still saying something?
I think
His chin has cut him off. All right, Titi, last words for me then.
I think my last word is, keep growing, have a plan, set a goal for yourself, give it a deadline, and just ensure that you're always growing. Don't let a month pass without you attending something, reading something. Just keep growing.
I like that. So from my end, I just need you to understand, just like our speakers and our guests and analysts have said, growth is personal and growth is a must. It's not something you treat as a nice to have. It is a must have. You must grow and grow you will. I believe that reach out to everyone, understand the levels of growth that we've shared today, and do something by all means. Without sowing, you cannot grow. Interpret yourself, imply yourself, and apply yourself to growth. It is for your own benefit and the benefit to others looking up to you, looking around you, and working around you. Your growth completes the cycle of industry growth. And it's industry growth that completes the cycle of sectoral growth. And that's what we are saying. We want the education sector to grow, the industry must grow. But the industry cannot grow if you do not grow. We had a great time today. We'll be here tomorrow, same time, 8 a.m. And we'll be talking about a follow-up topic to this conversation today. Please do not miss it. Share the words. We're going to work on the glitches and the connectivity today, and we'll be right on time tomorrow. And we will be live to share with you great stuff. Remember, as we always say on the Good Morning Education Show, it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. Do have yourself a nice and a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Titi, say bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a
Thank you.
fantastic day.
Yes,
Bye.
absolutely. Bye.